has adopted new sanctions on Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. EU foreign ministers also expected to place the powerful paramilitary group behind the recent bloody crackdown on the bloc's terror list. Ahead of the gathering in Brussels earlier today, the EU's top diplomat told reporters that if you act like a terrorist, you should be treated like one. Take a listen.
We are putting new sanctions on the list, and I also expect that we agree on listing the Iran Revolutionary Guard on the terrorist list. This will put them on the same footing with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Daesh. If you act as a terrorist, you should also be treated as terrorist. It is clear what we see, the death toll in the protests that were in Iran and the means that were taken by the regime are really severe. So that's why we are also sending a clear message that if you are suppressing people, it has a price, and you will be also sanctioned for this.
We can now bring in Tara Kangarlou, a global affairs journalist and author of The Heartbeat of Iran. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today. What are Iranians making of the fact that Donald Trump very quickly pivoted from threatening military action in Iran to protect protesters to now wanting to secure this nuclear deal?
Absolutely. And also, by the way, still threatening a military action, because that seems not to be off the table. The internet blackout continues intact in Iran, but slowly people are getting online through VPNs and other modes. And I've been speaking with many Iranians from different parts of the country. And unfortunately, all of them are in the state of mourning. And a woman today who has been active in 2009 protests and since then in every single other anti-government protest told me this morning that we're waiting hopelessly and helplessly, but we don't even know what we're waiting for. And another woman who also participated in these rounds of protests told me we are all in a state of coma and we don't know if and when we're going to get out of it. And really, that's the state of the current mood and reality on the ground for millions of Iranians who are shocked by the thousands of numbers of those killed, people who are in detention and have been arrested, and the thousands injured. So that seems to be what Donald Trump is missing, because he gave a promise to the Iranian people that we're going to help you, but now he's pivoting to potentially negotiate with the Islamic regime or hit militarily, which we don't even know what that's going to look like. Where is he going to hit? Who is he going to hit? And how is this all going to have an impact on this nation that is in mourning?
That's true, because just last year, Donald Trump, when he did carry out those strikes on nuclear sites in Iran, he claimed to have obliterated those nuclear sites. So it seems funny that just a couple of months later, he wants to strike a nuclear deal. I want to talk about sanctioning, which is something that the EU is doing, because we know that they're going to sanction certain individuals and potentially put the IRGC on the terror list. Realistically, what will this change?
That's an excellent question. I'm not a sanctions expert, and there are many experts out there. But having covered Iran for 15 years and other countries around the world under sanctions, I would say sanctioning countries is lazy policymaking. And as we have seen over the years in Iran in particular, sanctions have in some ways even emboldened the most hardline factions of the Islamic regime. And in many ways, more than one have enriched many groups and people and individuals in Iran. And those directly affected are ordinary people who are isolated and choked by their own government, but also by the sanctions. And so putting IRGC groups and individuals under sanction, I wonder how much of a tangible impact it's going to have on a nation that's living under the poverty line. Over 51% of the Iranians are living below poverty. Iran's stock market was at its lowest yesterday. I spoke with another source in Iran. People are trying to buy gold just so that in case of emergency. People are piling up on food items just because they don't know what's going to happen the next day. So sanctions, over the years have proven not to weaken the Islamic regime, but in some cases even further emboldening them
Mm.
and amassing large sums of money for the regime.
People in Iran just a couple of weeks ago, maybe even last month, took to the streets because of the state of Iran's economy, which has been weighed down by these sanctions. But given the scale of the recent crackdown, you yourself said people in the country are telling you they're in a comatic state, if you will, and the fact that there's no unified opposition. Do you think, given that the economic realities will stay the same or potentially even get worse, will they dare go to the streets again?
Iranians went on the streets with bare hands. They had nothing except their will, and they were completely quashed in the most brutal way that we saw. And yes, there is no unifying opposition. Unfortunately, some of Iran's brightest, who can be the country's future leaders, political activists, lawyers, human rights activists, they're in prison because any form of dissent in Iran have been choked by the Iranian government. And then you have opposition figures abroad in the United States,
Hmm.
including the former monarch's son, Reza Pahlavi, who came out a few weeks ago and said, Iranians, come on the streets. We are here to support you. I'm here to support you. And I remember actually reading one of his posts where he said, I am planning to return to Iran. And again, the same woman that emphasized that we're in a state of coma, she said, we want a figure to come and support us as we transition through this regime, because we no longer want the Islamic regime. But these promises have been futile. We don't see anything tangible coming from Washington or from, in this case, Reza Pahlavi.
Hmm.
Where is this promise going? Is he asking us to come on the streets? Because people don't have anything else to give. We have been killed brutally. We don't have anything in our hands. And so again, that underscores the state of limbo, the state of hopelessness and helplessness, because the voices coming out of Washington, whether it be from the opposition figures or the president of the United States, are contradictory.
But what do you make of Donald Trump's posturing now? The fact that this second armada has gone to the region. Now he wants the Iranians to negotiate. Do you think they will even soften their tone, given that the military threat from Washington is very real?
Absolutely. And, again, I covered the region closely, and this is reminding me once again of this famous saying that, countries don't have friends, they have interests. So people in Iran don't believe that the president of the United States actually cares about them. And many of them are saying, whatever happens, it's to the benefit of the United States and their interests. And we're the ones left alone, once again, abandoned. And that's the sentiment on the ground. And so we'll see what happens, whether it's a deal. It's yet to be seen. Marco Rubio yesterday, Secretary of State, by the way, in a Senate hearing, I think this is extremely important. He said after the supreme leader of Iran, when he's gone, nobody can give an answer to what will come next.
Hmm.
So I don't even think the United States government right now knows what their policy is and what they're planning to do with the current regime in Iran. And again, people are the only victims in all of this.
Tara Kangarlou, we're going to leave it there. Thank you for joining us on the program today.